Hey Happy Crew, HappiDaze here. In today's video, we're going to go ahead and take on the TM teams that we're going to be using on the upcoming TM versus Kaku and Lucci. We'll talk about the teams. Obviously, this is going to be a very whale-focused team. I'm hoping to have another video out tomorrow that has some much more buildable teams as opposed to what you see here. But let's go ahead and get right into it. Show you all the teams, show you the strategies behind it, and yeah, let's get going. Alright, so for the first team, we're going to go ahead and take on S-Bear. So the recommended character for this fight is the Super Evolved Zoro that we got recently with the Kazuna Skull, so you definitely want to use him for this battle. It's who we're going to be using. So let's just go look at the gimmicks real quick. So gives everyone -5 to their special charge time, their switch effect, all that great stuff, so we don't have to worry about building teams with certain classes or colors or anything like that. Makes it really easy. So let's go to Battle 3, which is where a lot of the fun begins. So you get Special Reverse 10 turns. So the good news about this Zoro is that his Captain ability will actually launch his special at the beginning of the quest, and then it ends up giving you his special for every battle up to 10 turns, I believe it is. So let's just take a quick look at that real quick. Yeah, so you'll be getting damage reduction down by 3. Doesn't matter, it doesn't have that on the final battle. Despair, again, doesn't have that on the final battle. But what really helps is this change character slot to Wano. So you have to have a Wano slot to be able to take out the barrier that he has. So having that special kick off at the beginning of the quest, make sure that he is your captain, will allow you to get that Wano slot and allow you to get through that slot barrier, do a ton of damage, and get through. The rest of the units on here are just boosters, so any booster you can find that typically has type advantage is obviously better. So you can see I just threw a bunch of random boosters on this team that are int to do the type advantage and that are boosters. So pretty easy team, pretty simple, no problem. Somebody any supports to get the team, so S-Bear should be pretty easy to get through for this fight. So with that said, let's get into the next one. So for fight number 2, we're going to go ahead and take on S-Shar. So let's take a quick look at what he does. He is a quick unit, so you definitely want to use your Dex advantage there to be able to get the type advantage. So he charges Dex, Quick, and Psy is the team you want to build around. In our case, we're going to do pure Dex. It's just that much easier. So let's see what he actually does. So he does a 75% HP cut, which actually helps because the Crocodile Special will get rid of the paralysis, and it has a condition that says if your HP is, I believe it's 50% or below, then you basically get a chain multiplier at 3 all the way up to, I think it's 40. Let me just check that real quick. But yeah, you'll automatically get around that chain debuff there. Yeah, so it starts at 3, go up to a maximum of 40 for 3 turns. So you'll be perfectly fine doing using that to get around the chain debuff there. Again, then that next one won't matter about only having the 0.1 growth rate because you already have it at 3, so you won't get that attack down from the low threshold there. I have the Big Mom and Katakuri unit on here just to give me Sembla spots, but any unit that you have that will give you slots that aren't empty or block, make it a lot easier. Burn we don't have to worry about. We're going to kill this guy in one shot, so again, doesn't matter. So yeah, that's really the gimmicks. Like, Guest Shark really doesn't have too many crazy stuff here. You do, if you can, want to build teams that are focused on Cerebral, just because he has the weakness against that. So in this case, I just do a bunch of random units on here that were mostly higher point boosters. I could change some of these that are not Cerebral to Cerebral just to get some more advantage, but Crocodile himself boosts Driven and Cerebral, so as long as you have any of those classes on there, you'll have more than enough damage and you'll do fine. So that is S-Shark, so let's go ahead and move on to the next one. The next TM boss is probably the hardest for myself out of all the mini bosses, and that is because it's S-Snake. So let's just take a quick look at what they want you to use. So for this quest guide, they want you to use the Carrot and Dog and Cat unit that came out with the Odin batch there, with the Luffy Straw Hat rare recruits. Don't have either of those, so this is going to be fun. So let's take a quick look at how they want you to build teams. So Fighter, Slasher, and Free Spirit are the ones who get the cooldowns, so you want to build teams that are built around that. And then she has a weakness to the Slasher class, so if possible, we want to try to build some Slashers as much as we can, especially Slashers that are strength-based. That'll just help us get the type advantage and get us even more damage there. So in terms of the gimmicks that they do, you get 9 turns of Top Row Bind, 7 turns of Attack Down, 6 turns of Threshold, and 2 turns of Nullify Damage. So that Nullify Damage is what's going to make a lot of people's head spin because it's just a nasty debuff to deal with. There's not a ton of units that deal with it. But of course, as always, the OG Luffy comes through himself. We're going to use the Gear 5 Luffy here. He's just such an amazing captain with what he can do. So he lets us get rid of that bind as part of his captain action. You'd love to see that. Thanks to his super type, we're able to get through the damage nullification and the threshold, so that's even better. The one thing to note, though, for his super type is you have to have 3 at least Straw Hat Crew units on there, or any of the Law, Kid, any of those units on there. So just make sure that you have 3 units to satisfy that condition. In my case, I have Zoro, Momonosuke, and the dual unit here with Law to satisfy that condition. So that gets us to 3 units. We can use the super type to be able to bypass those nasty gimmicks there. So that's how we're getting by the damage threshold. That's why we're getting through the damage nullification is we're using that super type there. So that's with the attack down, and we have 7 turns. So to get rid of the attack down, we're actually using our support units to really get through that. So we have Bonnie on the Kid unit there. That just helps us to get rid of 3 turns of attack down. You have the Kinemon support on Momonosuke. That gets rid of another 2 to do 5 total. And then we also have the Higoro on Luffy. He not only gets rid of 2 turns of the damage threshold, but he gets rid of 2 turns of attack down as well. That brings up to 7 total attack down, so that lets us get through that content real quick. Then on the Zoro would actually help us get through the damage threshold if we had to, but like I said, we won't have to because of the Luffy unit there, so not too much crazy there. And we do have the VV support on him because it will give a plus 10% for strength, dex, and quick units doing attacks, so obviously make this Roger and the Momonosuke just hit so much harder. So yeah, we're not using the Momonosuke special for anything. We just have him on the team because he's a strength slasher. Same with the Roger Rayleigh Gabon. They're just on there because they're a strength slasher. It'll just help us do a lot of damage. So a really annoying fight, really annoying gimmicks. But sometimes you just got to deal with these really annoying fights by using Gear 5, and that's exactly what we're doing here. So let's go hop on to the next one. So the final mini-boss fight will be against my boy S-Hawk here. So you want to have teams that are focused definitely around the dex typing. That will just help you get through this. So the recommended characters for this fight are the Odin and the Kinemon and Kanjuro unit that just came out, and of course the support that go along with them as well. So let's take a look at the gimmicks real quick. So they do strength, dex, and int are the teams that get their specials rewound or get that increase at the beginning of the battle. So that's kind of what they want you to build. The team we're building is purely dex built, and that will just help us kind of get through the content there. In terms of what S-Hawk actually does, so he does 6 turns left column special bind, so we're going to put your special binder on the right hand side there. You do get right column special reverse, so yeah, that's not a fun mechanic. You get your slots changed to dex and quick. You get 6 turns of increased defense that you got to deal with, and then if you have any of the type slots, you get your damage dealt reduced by 80%. So you don't want to have type slots, that's the key. So let's talk about our team and how we're actually using that to get around a lot of the stuff that we're doing. So as I said, we're really using just the 2 units here that are recommended, but the important part of this is in order to get rid of the special rewind as part of the special reverse, as part of the Odin's captain ability, you have to have at least 4 slashers on the crew. So when you're building a team, if you're using the the Odin here, you got to make sure you have 4 slashers. So all our units are slashers and all of them are dex. So that's perfect. We're going to do a absolute ton of damage versus S-Hawk. So let's go to some of the other stuff. So as I mentioned, we will use the Yamato and Momonosuke unit here to be able to get rid of the special bind. You want to make sure that they have the Wano slots on them before you launch their special, because they get rid of the increased defense. And you get that Wano slots by doing the special of the Oda unit there. He'll change the slots to you for Wano. It'll be perfect. Make it really easy. And then that's really it. That's really all you have to do is make sure you get your slots, not one of the type slots. Get rid of the increased defense. Like I said, we're doing through the Yamato and the Momonosuke. And yeah, and then you're off to the races from there. So that's the team that we're using for the mini boss. So let's get onto the 2 harder fights now, which is the main boss of this TM, as well as the intrusion boss. For the boss of this TM, which is Kaku and Lucci, we're going to go ahead and use this team here. So full disclosure, this is like the full whale team. Like, there's no excuse for having these many units. I whaled out, so that's kind of what the team looks like. So let's take a look at the gimmicks real quick. So I want you to build teams that are focused around strength, quick, and int. Of course, we're going to try to build int as much as we can to get that type advantage and just help us out a little bit more, do some damage. So let's look at Battle 2. So you get a special reverse for 1 turn, which is annoying to deal with. You get block slots. You get a blow away of your bottom row, which is annoying if you don't have any of the rare recruits. And then you get a barrier of 3 goods for 2 turns, and then 6 turns of paralysis. So a lot of stuff that's going on here. So this is the team that we're using. So just a quick note. So on here, they want you to actually use the Vegapunk unit to help get rid of both the paralysis and the special rewind there. but he's not boosted. Like, it makes absolutely zero sense. So what we're doing to get around that on stage 2 at least is we have this Luffy unit here at the bottom left. The Bat Time Luffy helps get rid of 6 turns of paralysis. With the Nami support, the key focus here is that not only can she remove 1 turn of paralysis, but she can also reduce the crew's special charge time by 1. So the whole crew gets a special cooldown of 1, which basically nullifies that annoying gimmick that's on the second stage. Luffy's boosted, the Vegapunk isn't, so we're going to use him just to get the max boost there, but it's a really stupid oversight by Bandai not to make that Vegapunk boosted when he's on the recommended list. But hey, it's just Bandai being Bandai there. So for the other gimmicks that are on stage 2, so for the block slots, we're using the Super Tight of Stussy to be able to get the good slots there. In terms of the blowaway, the rare recruit's Sailor ability allows us to completely ignore that. The Stussy special that we'll use is going to give us the ability to get rid of that barrier, and then as I mentioned, the Bat Time Luffy will help get rid of that paralysis. So stage 2 doesn't really look that bad. I think we'll be able to get through that pretty quickly. Stage 4, you need like a novel for all the stuff going on here. So what you really have to know is that there's resilience, there's increased defense, there's damage thresholds. There's just a lot that you have to deal with, and on top of that, you get 9 turns of despair. Absolutely crazy. You get block slots, another barrier, and then top row special get reversed by 1. So just a note of some of the supports that we're using. So I mentioned that Nami was the key support for stage 2. The Mr. 3 Miss Golden Week unit here on Stussy is the key for stage 3. So the benefit that she has is that she's able to basically go ahead and on stage 3 give you a -2 rewind or special charge for yourself. So we'll be able to get that special back that gets put on us and be able to use our captain Stussy to be able to go ahead and get through some of the gimmicks there. As I mentioned, we're going to go ahead and use the super type again to get rid of the block slots that get there. You have the Orochi unit here, who can basically help get rid of a bunch of this annoying threshold that's there. Yeah, you just get rid of a lot of that annoying threshold that's there. And for the other units, you have the Sentomaru, who can, and the Pacifista, of course. So the Pacifista can go ahead and get rid of Despair. Also gives you a shield, which doesn't really help us too much on our side, but it's cool. It is what it is. There's not any death hits like there is in the Intrusion boss. And then the Sentomaru himself can go ahead and we don't actually need that support on Mr. 3 Miss Golden Week, because Sentomaru will actually help you get that back. So yeah, I guess that really doesn't matter. That I could just throw any other support on Stussy and be good. But yeah, he will get rid of the bind, and he'll also get rid of the 6 turns of resilience. So on the final stage, we'll use the Sentomaru special, use the Pacifista special, use the Orochi special, and then use our captain Stussy and Super Type. And at that point, we'll be off to the races. Shouldn't be any problems at all. This team was built purposely to take down this team. But yeah, the only change here, like I said, is to use that Bath Time Luffy instead of Vegapunk just to get those extra point boost there. So that's going to go and wrap up the TM boss himself. So let's get to the Intrusion battle now. For the Intrusion battle against the Orochi and the Kanjuro, this is the team that we're using. Again, fully boosted team, using all the recommended units they want us to use, as well as we were actually able to fit in the Odin unit on here to get the 1.4 boost instead of the 1.25 that you saw in the boss battle, all thanks to the support that's on him. So we'll get to that in just a second, but let's see what the gimmicks are for this fight. So they want you to use Cerebral-driven Powerhouse. That's the teams they want you to build around. So on turn 2, there's just so much crazy buffs here. So obviously the Convert Healing does damage, you have the Bleed, you have the 1 turn of the Special Use Limiter, you have 9 turns of Bind, you have your slots get turned to block, and then you have a damage limiter as well. So you basically have to go for 2 turns. So they really expect you to use 1 Stussy on this stage. She'll help get rid of all the bleed, thanks to a bunch of her mechanics there. You can use one of the Stussy specials. You can use a super type to get your block slots back. To get rid of the bind, we're going to go ahead and use the Sentomaru. He gets rid of 6 turns of bind, so he's perfect. He'll be there. Now, one thing to note on here is that there is some special reverse on the final stage here. So positioning is actually kind of important on here. So we have Sentomaru in the bottom right-hand corner, because the top and bottom rows will get their special rewound when you progress onto stage 3. So because we'll use the Sentomaru special on stage 2 to get rid of that bind, we really won't have to worry at all about anyone except for that Odin character, and as I mentioned, I'll explain the support in just a second of how we're using that to get rid of the special reverse on stage 3. But Sentomaru will go ahead and get rid of that bind for you, as long as you have, all your sockets maxed out there. First turn, we'll just do as much damage as you can, and the second you just kill. The really annoying part is that you take a 50k damage shot at the end, so this is why you really need those rare recruits, right? So the Sentomaru, I believe he does 85% damage reduction for 2 turns. Yeah, so this will just help you survive that death hit. You'll use him on the first time you go into stage 2, and then his buff will carry over when you kill the enemy on stage 2 there. So you really do need that Sentomaru unit. Like, they made this kind of not easy if you didn't pull him to get through that. So yeah, we'll go ahead and use Sentomaru on stage 2 as well as with the Stussy special and super type. And at that point, we'll be pretty golden. Now, the Orochi is critical on this team because he helps get rid of the special use limit as part of his potential abilities. You do have to have him level limit break, so just a quick note, make sure you go ahead and fully level limit break him all the way to the end, not just the base level limit break, but the level limit break plus, and that will open up the ability to limit your special, to 2 turns. Even if you didn't do any investments, let's say you just got 1 copy, as long as you get it up to that max, you can still reduce that 1 turn here. So that's why they recommend having the Orochi here. He's really to help take care of that special limiter on stage 2. So going into stage 3, as if that wasn't fun enough, if your crew's HP is below 80%, you get a whole bunch of really nasty debuffs. In our case, because we have Sentomaru, our HP will be at 85% because of that ability of what he does. So we're good. We won't have to trigger this top preemptive, which is just absolutely gnarly. Instead, we just have to deal with this bottom one here. So you get top and bottom special reverse 1 turn. So basically how we're dealing with this is from the top, we have the Mr. 3 and Miss Golden Week here. Start of battle 3 should reduce the charge time by 2, so that should help us out there. And then we have this support on Odin here that will basically allow us to get 1 charge of special back. So yeah, I mean, it's a whale team without a doubt. But if you have these units here, you should be able to get the max boost there and be able to get your specials back in time for that final stage. Looking at the gimmicks again real quick, again, you get your slots to bomb and block. You can use the super type of Stussy to get around that. And with the ability of the rare recruits, you're able to avoid that blow away. So that's why having both of them is critical. 1 stops blow away in the middle slot, 1 stops blow away at the bottom slot. And again, you take the 150k shot. So in this case, we're going to end up using the Pacifista on the final stage, as well as the special of the Odin and the Stussy there, to be able to do the most damage and then be able to survive that death hit. So he caps damage after 5,000, I believe. Let me just take a quick look here. So yeah, damage that exceeds 5,000 will end up getting cut down. So that's how you survive the death hit. We survived the death hit on stage 2 with Sentomaru, survived the death hit on stage 3 with the Pacifista. So that's the teams. This is a pure whale TM. Like, some of the gimmicks are just absolutely ridiculous. So I wish you guys good luck. Like I said, I'm going to try to get another video out tomorrow or today, depending on when this video goes out, with some more accessible teams that you can use to do that. But of course, there's a bunch of content creators who already posted videos of different teams as well. Make sure you check them out as well, because they always have a lot of good ideas, or even the Discord as well has a bunch of different team suggestions and ideas. So that's going to wrap it up for me today. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I hope you saw my strategy of kind of how I'm going to take on these TMs. Like I said, I think for me, at least, the hardest boss is probably that S-Snake, just because she's absolutely ridiculous if you didn't pull the carrot and dog and cat. It is what it is. It is what it is. Yeah, so that's going to wrap it up. Let me know in the comments below how you're doing. Do you have a pretty good sense of how you're going into this TM? Are you worried about any certain gimmicks or mechanics? And as always, until next time, be kind to each other.